Welcome to Motion Sports, the show. I'm your host, Greg Nosar. Good to have you here. I hope you had a great weekend. Big time weekend in sports. College football started their bowl games. Got a myriad of college football games going on. A lot of upsets in the college football rankings. We'll go over that on the show tonight. Join us at 7:30 p.m. Motion Sports with myself and Sam Kales and others will be a part of the show tonight. Join us tonight. Wow, let's go ahead and start with the game, I believe, of the week. That was last night's Baltimore Ravens game against the Green Bay Packers, and John Harbaugh making the decision to go for two for the second time in 3 games and not make it. And he's going by analytics. And analytics is taking over sports. Now, I'm going to argue analytics is good in a way, but analytics does not measure heart. It does not measure effort. It does not measure the want to of both teams, conditions, and others. When you strictly go by the book and you go by numbers, it comes back to bite you. And history, just like investing, is not indicative of future outcome. And if you continually go by the book, then what's the point of having a head coach? What's the point of having coaches? You just let IBM Watson do the coaching for you. And John Harbaugh made the decision, even at home, not to take the game in overtime. He did not trust his defense. Aaron Rodgers was on the other sideline. Couldn't stop Aaron Rodgers all night long. And thus, I believe John Harbaugh has coached his way out of the playoffs. Potentially, he's out now. Look, the Cincinnati Bengals took over the AFC North because John Harbaugh coughed up 2 games because of quote-unquote analytics. I'll tell you, it may work in baseball, but football's a different sport. Football, I mean, you've got a lot of things going on, and analytics is not taken into many things as conditions, home field advantage, momentum, and all these different things. Analytics don't have feelings. They don't have emotions. They don't have, again, what's in a person's soul and heart. Analytics can hurt you, and it can help you. But more than likely in football, as we can see, sometimes it definitely hurts you. John Harbaugh, the fans are not going to take this anymore. The fans are not going to sit here and say, listen, we're not going to let some nerd with some computer in the press box make the decisions for our football team. That's just not the way things go. It might help you with salary caps. It might help you with, all these different spreadsheets to get your team formed, but it's not going to help you with in-game decisions like this. And I don't care. You're at home. You put yourself in a position to go overtime and trust your defense and trust your offense to make the plays to win the ball game, especially when you're on the cusp, and that loss could cost them the playoff game. So, John Harbaugh, I'm a Harbaugh fan. I enjoy what you do, but I think this time analytics bit you in the tail. And it's a shame. It's a shame because they had a lot of things going good for him. I mean, even with Lamar Jackson being out for the first time in his career, he was out due to injury. And I'm going to give a little teaser here. We're going to try to talk about this tonight. But is Huntley basically put on a show last night? Is there a quarterback controversy going on in Baltimore? Could be. I don't know. He's playing awfully well. We have 2 games tonight, Monday Night Football. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit, but 2 games going on. Another 2 games going on tomorrow due to COVID. And the Raiders and Browns are playing at 5 p.m. Eastern today, as well as the Bears and the Vikings. And I will tell you, the Browns and the Bears are absolutely decimated with COVID. I don't want to watch these games. These are going to be preseason games coming out. I hope you're not betting on any of these games because, I mean, the spreads are just wild. I've put that down this week. I'm just not going to do anything with them. It's because you don't know what's going on out there. You don't know the product's going out there. And I think it's really hurting the overall NFL product and the experience this year. But COVID's policies that are being placed by the NFL and other sports teams have come back to haunt them. And, when you go out and talk about real science and all this other stuff, look, the NFL was the strictest COVID policy out there. They have said in the very beginning that if players and teams are under an outbreak, they could potentially forfeit these games and cost them playoff spots and everything else. Well, now you've got two teams playing tonight, the Bears and the Browns, that are under a complete outbreak, and they're not forfeiting the teams. They're putting out the Johnny replacement out there to see what they can do. And NFL is having to kind of eat their words from the very beginning and their strict COVID policies and the vaccination policies. Most of these players, 99% of them are vaccinated, and they're still getting COVID. So, somebody's not listening to something and somebody's not following something, because something's going to have to give, because they cannot continue this protocol in the next years to come. Something's going to have to give. And I, quite frankly, don't want to watch just COVID games or having all these teams cancel games like the NBA did with Chicago. NHL, American teams can't go to Canada right now. And there's like 27 games that have been canceled or rescheduled because of COVID. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And I hope we get a grasp on, as a nation and as really a collective community, and try to figure this thing out. So it's not too late to talk about coaches on the hot seat for the NFL. Talk about this. NFL has a new rule in place that says that you could start interviewing coaches to fill positions 2 weeks prior to the season ends. And we're coming right up on that. 2 more weeks, we're coming up on potential coaches being fired and other coaches being interviewed for these positions. I've got at least 10 NFL spots that may be filled into next year. Number one on my list is Matt Nagy for the Chicago Bears. His time is done. Obviously, I think he's going to be, besides Urban Meyer, the first coach to be fired in the NFL. But Matt Nagy, you're gone. Actually, the other coach that you're going to see tonight, who's going to be on the other sideline for the Bears-Vikings game, Mike Zimmer, might be out of Minnesota when it's all said and done. He's been there. His time has ended. Hasn't really produced anything, with the Minnesota Vikings, and he is gone. Matt Rule from the Carolina Panthers could be on the hot seat as well. He could be fired out of Carolina as well. Vic Fangio from the Denver Broncos, the old style defensive coordinator from the Chicago Bears, went over to Denver. Not putting points on the board, not putting his team in position. Obviously has quarterback issues. Teddy Bridgewater got hurt this weekend. Our prayers are with him. Had to be carted off with a pretty serious injury. But he's just not really producing what the Denver Broncos really want to see. One and done, David Culley from Houston Texans. This could be his one and done deal. Obviously, the Houston Texans are a complete dumpster fire with their ownership and everything else that's going on with Deshaun Watson. But obviously, Houston Texans may be the second pick or third pick in the draft this year. But David Culley did not get the job done, even with his lackluster players there in Houston. But they might be taking a completely different turn. Obviously, trying to get Deshaun Watson traded. They're looking for 3 first-round draft picks. I don't think that's going to happen. Miami Dolphins were interested, but anyway, it's fell short. Joe Judge from the Giants. I mean, he's a loony. That whole Giants front office, bunch of whack jobs. Joe Judge not being respected whatsoever from the Giants and their players. I mean, just making terrible decision after terrible decision. Has gone through 3 quarterbacks in 2 games. Not doing well. I believe Brian Flores might be gone out of Miami. Now, Miami's been on a 5 or 6 game winning streak here as of late, but started the season off terribly, put his team in a real bad position, playing catch up. Yeah, there's a little bit of momentum on Miami's hands, but I was looking at the teams that Miami beat, and they're the dumpster fire, basically trash can of the NFL, not really beating good teams, but Brian Flores might be out. Here's a surprise, I think, that you might have to take a look at this year. Pete Carroll from the Seattle Seahawks. Is his time up? Comment below. Talk about it. Is his time up in Seattle? He's been there for quite some time. I think over 10 years now. Pete Carroll, if they lose Russell Wilson, is Pete going to retire, or is he going to get fired, or is he just going to walk away? Who knows? But I think Pete Carroll is on his way out of Seattle come next year. Obviously, John Gruden from the Las Vegas Raiders, he was fired. Vegas needs a new quarterback, a new head coach as well. David Carr might be out in Vegas as well. He might be gone. There's speculations of where he might end up. Could come to Washington as the next Washington a quarterback, but who knows? But Vegas, again, a complete rebuild, complete. I mean, they got a mess on their hands with John Gruden getting fired. And also, obviously, we know Urban Meyer and the Jags, they're going to have to fill that position as well. So up to 10 coaches in the NFL could be fired, if not a little bit more. Who knows? These owners are getting very impatient. But those are my coaches that are on the hot seat in the NFL. Again, tonight, guys, we have Raiders, Browns, and the Vikings, Bears. I would not touch these spreads. I would not touch these games. Just put your hands in your pocket, leave them alone. But if you had to get some action, I would do player props. Go offense, Jefferson for the Minnesota Vikings. Whatever his is, hit the over on whatever it is. The Bears have no cornerbacks or safeties. He's going to have a big night. Kirk Cousins is going to have a big night. So, I would not touch the under overs or the games, but maybe sprinkle a little player props there and that. And then the Raiders, and the Browns, I have no idea what's going to happen. Raiders always play down to the competition. So again, don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. You might want to tickle the under a little bit because the Browns don't have any quarterbacks or what have you. It might be a defensive game, but tonight, again, my TV will probably not be on watching any of these NFL games because of the COVID outbreaks. Guys, that is Motion Sports, the show. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you tonight, 7:30. Take care, and we'll see you. Good night.